we're no longer a backwater regional airport. We really are stepping up to be a major international hub, and so and this is it's not about just the airport. It's really about the community. It's about Seattle. It's about region, and so I think all of us have every reason to be very, very proud of that. The seaport has been hit rocked by an announcement that we will be losing the Grand Alliance. This was really hit me personally because the Grand Alliance is an alliance of NYK, which is the oldest Japanese ocean carrier. Happens to be part of Mitsubishi, which my dad used to work for. So I have long ties there. The other is OOCL, which is a Hong Kong company, and then Hapag-Lloyd, which is a German company. And they decided to go to Tacoma for reasons that I won't bore you with, but the important takeaway message is that it should have never happened. And it's not something that we did or didn't do as a port in terms of pursuing and trying to keep that business, but it speaks to the system that exists right now. And when you talk to Tacoma, people from Tacoma, what they'll tell you is competition is good. Competition between Seattle and Tacoma is good, and that's what keeps the competitive edges and keeps everybody sharp. I totally disagree with that. And that's the big problem that we have, is we have a major divide in philosophy. And and what I say to them, and I've said to them many times, is this competition may have been fine, may have been good for the two ports 20 years ago, but guess what? The world has changed, and the dynamics have changed, the trading patterns have changed, the way people get cargo from China or Japan to the Midwest has changed, and you have to figure out a way to deal with that change and to stop looking parochially at one port versus another, but indeed look at this as a region, the Puget Sound region. And if we had done that, if we were doing that, the way this Grand Alliance thing would have worked out would have been very, very different. And it would have been handled in a way that everybody in Puget Sound would have benefited. And I won't go into the details because it's too complicated, but the way it was handled, we both lost. The Grand Alliance is going to go to Tacoma, but the bottom line is that the cost of them winning that business, if you will, is so severe, and will have so much impact on their relationship with their other customers within the Port of Tacoma, that in the bottom line, they're going to get really hurt. In the meantime, they're going to destroy us as well. So it's something that my 5 commissioners and I are very, very much aligned with in terms of philosophy, what needs to be done. And again, I'm not going to go into the details of what we're trying to do, but it's important to us because these are the 2 ports that handle most, if not all, the exports out of Washington. So we've got to fix this thing, and at some point, we'll come out with some details of what we're proposing, some of the structural changes that have to take place within the port industry in Puget Sound, and I hope that you'll agree with our assessment and be one of our allies and our ambassadors to make that happen, because it's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of naysayers that disagree. So the airport, we did 32.8 million passengers. I already talked about Emirates, but it's just doing really, really well. I'm sure that all of you are users of SeaTac from one point to another. I hope you're as proud as we are at the airport. It's just a first-class place with all kinds of amenities and very, very convenient. And we expect it will continue to grow. Fortunately, SeaTac really doesn't have competition, so So that makes it really nice. But nevertheless, we keep our noses to the grindstone and listen very carefully to what our customers are saying, what Alaska is saying, what Delta is saying, and so forth. And we feel that we're very, very responsive to that. I don't know how we're doing for time, but I think the one thing that you may remember 5 years ago, we went through this state audit, and my good friend John was very involved in that at that time. It was a pretty difficult experience, if you ask anybody at the port that was there at the time. A very, very difficult experience, but we got through it, and we fixed all the things that we believe we needed to get fixed. We run a very, very tight ship, and we're very transparent. That's one of the things that we're really proud of, is that everything that we do is open to the public and it's transparent. And if you're interested, look at the website, yada, yada, yada. But we believe that one of the results of it was that we had no turnover with the commission this last time. We had 2 people that were running, they were incumbents, and we had 2 challengers. But and don't get me wrong, I have no problems with other people wanting to or be interested in running for commission. But the dialogue that took place during those 2 races, I thought was remarkably sedate. There was no talk about port reform. There were some personal attacks, one commissioner versus another incumbent and so forth, and that happens. If you run for anything, school board, to the president, you are going to get attacked one way or another. But I think that during this past election, there was very little of that, if any. And to me, that was a testimony to the comfort level that people generally have of where we are at the port in all 3 lines of business. Do we make mistakes? Sure we do. And I'd be the first to admit it. But I think for the most part, when you have a complex organization with 1,700 some odd people, 3 lines of business, that's running around trying to do business with a lot of different companies in different industry. I think we've done a pretty good job, and I owe it to this remarkable team that I was fortunate enough to put together. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions about my family's life. And if I don't get any questions, I will bore you with a couple of interesting stories, my personal stories. Oh, yes. There was a video that I brought in. Thank you very much for that. We have, over the last year or so, we've been working on this thing that we call the Century Agenda. The port is 100 years old last year, and we took that as an opportunity to say, hey guys, we've been around for 100 years, we've been very successful, what are we going to do for the next 100? Well, it's kind of hard to plan for 100 years, but so we took that 25-year horizon and asked ourselves, okay, what do we want to accomplish by the end of 25 years? And establish some really, really far-reaching, difficult goals. And we would use that as the basis for putting together our strategic plan. So this is a video that we put together, and our 5 commissioners are all over King County talking about this program. Elaine, how am I doing for time?
A few more minutes.
Okay. Yes, sir.
ANA announced they'll be having flights to Japan through Seattle now, and with United and Delta going to Japan, and with economy in Japan. How do you feel that will affect the airline industry and the port, or what decision making was involved in terms of having that?
Yeah. Did everybody hear the question? ANA had announced that they actually have announced, but they have not announced when. And and I had lunch with the president of ANA a while back, when I was about a month and a half ago, when I was back in Tokyo. And I was kind of ribbing him about that a little bit, you know, and he shot back and said, well, you know, if your guys could deliver the planes, you know, we take it's all predicated on the delivery of the one of the Dreamliners. It was actually a very similar question that we asked when we were having lunch, and it turns out that United and ANA have what's called a revenue sharing agreement. So what they do is it's not profit sharing, but it's revenue sharing. So what they do is they put a number of airplanes into the fleet to provide the service that they need on a daily basis, and then they split the revenue, and then each one of the companies is responsible for their own respective expenses. So you know, with that arrangement, they have assured me that, you know, there's just no incentive, nor are they concerned that there's going to be overcapacity. They will manage it, you know, between ANA and United. Now Delta, of course, is on their own, and they're going to be competing, and they have the daily service. But you know, we believe that there's enough business for everyone to be successful, and we're kind of counting on that. But great question. Yes, sir.
The cargo that comes in from Japan and China going back to the East Coast, does it come through Seattle or San Francisco, Los Angeles, or Panama Canal? How does it get back?
Yeah, so the question was, you know, when cargo comes in from the Far East and ends up in Chicago or Memphis or back east, which port does it go through? And that's a great question, and the answer is it goes through all the ports. And that's the cargo that we refer to as discretionary, because it's discretionary because it can go through any of those ports. And the time frame will differ a little bit, and the cost will differ a little bit, but the service providers, you know, make up for that by adjusting their prices. So in the final analysis, if you want to get a container to Chicago, as an example, you can go through Canada, which is one of the problems, by the way, or through Seattle or Tacoma, Los Angeles, etc. The Walmarts of the world, the Targets of the world, the shippers that we call them, they're very focused on ensuring that they spread the wealth around, because what they don't want to do is to get stuck with all of the eggs in one basket and having that port be shut down for whatever reason, or for an entire port range, which is why they don't just exclusively use the West Coast. They'll make sure that they're shipping a lot of cargo through the Panama Canal as well, through one of the East Coast ports, and they're smart in doing that. I think if I were them, I would want to make sure that have all the bases covered as well. Because as you may or may not know, when you get into the retail business, depending on what business you're in, a huge percentage of your sales is during the Christmas holiday season, and that has to be on the shelf at a certain time. And so, in order to get it there, if you have disruption on your supply chain for a month at the critical time, you're going to end up with a lot of inventory that you can't sell and that's left over. So very critical for them to be able to spread the wealth around and make sure that they're not subject to something happening in any of the various trades.
8 weeks.
Thank you.
Yes, 8.